So I was working as an arts educator for, like, you can tell, drama teacher. So I was working as an art educator for a bunch of years, like 18 years, and not making a whole lot of money at it. So I was like, how can I have an AMEd and be teaching all these things, and people think I'm awesome, but I'm still making like no money, and I'm crying about money, and how come people, and I'm sorry, but like people in suits get to be not so smart and make a whole bunch of money. I'm like, I just want to do that. I want to be a guy in a suit, like badly. So yeah, so you're my dream, your success. So then I looked at, I had taken all these like arts degrees and education degrees, and I was like, what is like a business thing that I could get into? And so I looked at all the different kind of businessy things, and I went, human resources. That feels like the softest of the business things that I could go into. So I did a certificate in human resources. And then what I did is that I decided that people in suits were very serious. They didn't have personalities, and they were very serious, and I started to go to job interviews not smiling. So if you can imagine, I think I've had 3 or 4 people come to me who haven't seen my videos or don't know me, and they're just like, your smile. So I'm kind of born with a smile. But I decided that HR professionals didn't smile. So I would go to interviews, best acting gig of my life, pretending that I was ultra serious, really passionate about HR, and I don't know why, but I never landed a job, right? Like, I just didn't land the job. So then, I read more books, and then I decided that I will just be Kerri. And I went to an interview, and, the only thing I did was I wore pantyhose, and I shouldn't, because it was way too hot to do that, but I was like, this is professional. And I went, and the job was for outplacement. So outplacement is where a company would call, and they would say, we're gonna let Stu go at 2 o'clock on Monday. I would show up at 1:30, coach the manager how to deliver the news. He would let that employee go, and I was the first person they would meet after they had lost their job. And so in the interview, she said, do you have any experience helping people in stressful situations? And I was like, all of the interview books would have like me thinking about some business situation, and I said, for a lot of years I wanted to be a drama therapist, and I would work with really sick babies and children that were dying, and my job was just to play with them, and it was a volunteer role. And I gained trust with these parents that their child might die while I was there, but they trusted me in the room that if their child was to die, that I was fine for them to die with. And they would go and have a shower or go have coffee and come back. But it was months of volunteering, building relationships, and she was like, okay, you can do this work. But that would be against what all the interview books would say, which is don't talk about a volunteer thing, don't make it about like children, don't mention any of those things. And it actually was like, it worked by being me. The other thing, so I got past interview 1, interview 2, I went, so it was in a big office, 16th floor, like in Winnipeg, a Portage, Maine, fountain, like fancy, yeah. And I showed up, and the VP was going to make the decision of if they would hire me or not. And she said, oh, Kerri, like we're impressed so far with all this, but we're not, part of this job is doing presentations, and we're not sure, so I want to make sure that you can do a presentation. So I'm going to leave, and then in 2 minutes, I'll come back and you can do a presentation. And I was not prepared for this at all. And so what I did, can I use your pen? So she came back, and the only presentation I could think of was the presentation I had done a couple days before. So she sat down and she said, go. And I went, okay. This is how you check a child's head for lice. And then I acted out, splitting the hair and how to find the net and pulling it off and calming the child. And I acted out this whole thing, and I ended up getting the job. Yeah. And what's funny is that she later laughed about it. She said that was the funniest thing I ever saw in an interview ever. But I hired you because I knew you could do the thing, right? So often we're so scared about looking perfect or professional or saying the right thing or being perfect that it's not about that. It's about still being human and making connections. And everything that everyone who spoke this morning, that's what they said. And it's a feeling like, no, but it doesn't, that's not for me, it is for you. And it's the best way that you can make connections, right? And so that, I told that story on LinkedIn, that life story. I don't know, like, I would be like, it wasn't an 8.1 million, but it was at least like an 800,000 views, tons of comments and engagement story, right?
I remember it.
You remember it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't spoil it. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so I won that job. I got that job by using my favorite skills. What wasn't so great about it is I wasn't smart enough yet to know that the environment mattered. So it's really important to do the self-reflection work on where you do your best work and what kind of people you do your best work with. And it was like the same idea where you're like, who are your people you're talking to? So for your business, that's who you're talking to. I am not trying to win over, super corporate people like who want the same kind of job. They are not my audience, right? Like, so if you can figure out, what your favorite things are to do using the index card method, where you like to do the work, and then what difference you want to make, so your legacy, then you've got a career brand and you can move forward with it. And then here's the process on making it happen. You're going to start to do research. This is the research, test, reflect, choose, and commit. And I know there's typos. Okay, so research. So the first one is doing, research. So if you're looking to launch your own business, then what the competition is doing, what else is out there, what your people are asking for. Going on like Quora, like Bobby said, is a great place to do some research. What are people's pain points? But doing some awesome research is your first. So you're gathering. You're also looking for words that industry uses. You're looking for words that, if it's a specific company you want to work for, what words are they saying? And trying to remember that those are words you want to start using so that you build credibility, right? And it's like that mirroring thing that Bryn talked about, that if you're using the same words to talk about something, that then they're like, oh yeah, they're part of the club, they get the language. I can't be walking around calling resumes like, I don't know, career obituaries, right? I can't be saying like, oh, I'll help you with a career obituary, and people are like, I don't, oh, do you mean resume? Oh yeah, I wouldn't get people, right? So I have to use the same language that everybody else is using. I can talk about it in a totally new way and a fun way, because I think that they are beautiful documents that can help you see how awesome you are, and it can be a wonderful experience to write a resume. But I need to use the word resume. So you want to gather research. And your research stage might be gathering research on these are the 4 different companies I want to work for, or these are the 4 different jobs I think I could do, or 2 kinds of businesses that I want to do. And then your next job is not to commit and launch, but you need to test it. So you need to test it, and testing could be, so Great Ways are like, someone was telling me they're on a sabbatical and they get to test. So if you have the opportunity to take a break and test out another job or sector or take on a project and lead it to see if you like the new thing, that is awesome. If you don't, less than things that are less life-changing would be doing informational interviews, seeing if you could just follow someone for the day, if that's accessible depending on the job that you're doing, but just get information on the job so that you know how it feels, because it's actually how it feels that matters and what you carry with you. If in that testing phase is where most people don't, they skip right ahead and then they go, and what happens is that they did the work of this is the perfect environment and what I like to do, and then they're in a job and it might feel good for a year or 2 because they get paid more money, but they're still itchy in it because they didn't test. So testing, or it might feel weird to be like, you're saying for a year I have to put my life on pause? Yeah, because if you're going to do a serious transition, you might be doing that job for 10 years. So you want to make sure that you like it. And people, and I wish that we could do more of this early years in school, right? But and some programs allow youth to do it. And I wish we had that, yeah, I wish we had this where, when you're 40, you get to take a year off and then try a couple jobs again, right? For the same salary you're making, and then make a decision.
That's a good idea though.
Would be fantastic. Yeah, I'll pitch in. Yeah. Then the next bit is reflecting, right? So is this the right job for me? Does this have the life balance that I want? Does it have the title and salary that's going to work for my life at this time? And for career transitions, you can even think about your next move, even in terms of like what you're going to do in the next like 3 years. Because it's like the world is changing, so we don't know like if the job we want in 10 will be there, or what our life will look like. I'm very happy working for myself, having my own company right now. Like I have a teenager and I have a 9-year-old. But as like that 9-year-old needs me less, maybe I'll be like, you know what, maybe the dropping off the kid's schedule isn't such a big deal. Maybe I do want to go do like this work at a university. Like, so it can switch, but for right now, it works. It's fitting everything that I need it to fit. Then you choose and you commit. Now this, when I first wrote this presentation, we thought maybe the audience was going to be executives. And so I'm going to give you the executive version of how to do career transition. And if you're not an executive, that's cool. You are going to get stuff that I only save for executives. So when you are making an executive move, it's different than reading What Color Is Your Parachute and following that advice. There are cliches, I'll go into the cliches that you want to avoid, but when you're making a move at a corporate level or an executive level, it looks different than just trying to land like that manager or that coordinator role. There's different things going on. One is that you need to show, like you have to have business acumen, but you have to have deeper knowledge, like that deep knowledge that you showed through that questioning. You have to show that you know the subject matter, and it's not about the job. So in a traditional job search, you see the job ad and you're applying for that role. When you're gonna rule all the things, you need to know how that business makes money, what they do, how you could help their strategy, what the other competition is doing, where it exists like on a local level, like national or international. You need to know the big stuff. So that if you're talking to anybody, that you're talking at a level where you understand how the sector works. So it's not enough just to read the vision statement of an organization. You need to have deeper knowledge about what's going on. Relationships are humongous. Like just, they weigh so heavy. I was working with a CEO in Winnipeg and made a video about this too, but I was talking to him and I was like, how's your network? And he's like, oh yeah, awesome network. You know, and I was like, oh yeah, and he's like, yeah, I call anybody, like, and he worked for like a hotel chain of hotels. And he's like, call anybody, right? They'll get me this, they'll make this, they'll do that. Like, and he's talking about all these kind of big deals he made like happen. And I was like, that's cool. Like, would any of those people do things for you if you didn't have your position? If their business didn't benefit from having a relationship like you, with you, are these still people who would be part of your network, and do they really know you? That was snappy.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, he didn't like it. He did not like that. But but I said, so what you need to do is kind of contact those people and start to form a relationship and start to get them to know them at a deeper level. Because what was happening is he was going for big jobs, and that they said, oh yeah, you can call anybody. I know.
It was on silent.
Oh, that's all right. So he would be going for job interviews, and then when they would call the references couldn't speak about him, that they understood anything except for how they benefited from him working at the hotel. So they got better rates, or they benefited the hockey team or other things. So he didn't actually have a strong network. And your network becomes kind of everything, right? So you want to make sure that you're investing and that those relationships are really strong. The other one is that when you go for executive interviews or you're talking about things, you don't just have like a resume. There are CEOs who land jobs all the time and they don't need resumes, right? We're not operating resume world anymore. Often what they need to have is like a portfolio of work that they've done, processes. They have to have maybe a list of like stats or things that they've improved, and often a plan, right? And go, if I was to take this role, these are a couple of the areas maybe we could talk more and you're getting more information. And you're treating it more like a business meeting rather than like, oh, please let me be your CEO, because that's not how it works, right? And it's a longer process. So it's usually not an instant process. Unless their leader left or their leader is terrible, usually how I see transitionings happening is that the board or some other stakeholders aren't happy with the current leader, and so under the radar, they're searching for other people who would be good fits. They hire that other person, then they let that CEO go, and then you come in. So that it's often longer and highly secretive, right? And the only way you hear about those jobs or you get picked to come into the wing under this like secret way is by showing your value and by building connections. You don't apply. They're not gonna be like, we're firing our leader in 2 months, apply for his job. He's gonna know, or she's gonna know, right? They're always gonna know. So they're a little bit longer. And I'm going to talk about some cliches that you want to avoid when you're doing job search that are in all of your job search books. Oh, no, I'm not. Because first, I want to say that sincerity is winning right now. And I know you can't really read that, but in here it says sincerity is winning right now. So the biggest change that we're finding, and it's why people actually like LinkedIn, the biggest change is that sincerity, showing, like, so people are like, I like you because you're so passionate about your work. You have this energy, you can tell you love what you do. So I'm not trying to be like, well, resumes are okay, right? Or like careers are very interesting. No, like they're like amazing, right? Like it's incredible what you can do with your life's energy, like amazing. But showing that is what the new sincerity is. I come from art, so I often look at how art movements influence culture and what's changing in the world. And so there's a movement, it's been happening for like 10 years now, but they call it like the post-postmodern movement, which is the new sincerity. Which means that artists are writing songs that are like, the clouds are beautiful. I really love looking at the clouds, they're really beautiful. And they're not saying it in like, you know, oh, you like people aren't being like, oh, you like clouds, right? They're like, oh yeah, clouds are. So it's, clouds are really cool. And it's the new sincerity. So if you were raised like me in a generation where what was cool was sarcasm and poking fun at things and kind of being like, no, I don't like that you would never give the thing attention, that could be why, like you could be falling flat. Because we have a whole generation where the new sincerity is working. Can you twist that? Absolutely, you can twist the new sincerity, right? And we see it, I think, on LinkedIn where people are telling fake stories about how people land or they say someone's live, and people are liking it, and it's kind of junk content, but it's working because people are looking for, you know, someone who is sincere about this work. So tricky tactics in the past don't work anymore. I had a client, he said, oh yeah, I know how to get a job. I know how to get a CEO to look at your resume or to get an interview. And I went, how? And he's like, you courier your resume. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you courier it because if you courier it to the CEO, they'll look, their receptionist won't open it because it'll be private. So they get it, they'll open it up, they'll be like, what's this resume here? They'll put their little name on it or their signature, it's to go to HR. HR will see the leader's signature on it, and then you'll get an interview. Like, which seems like, I don't know. Anyhow, it worked for him. He got an interview. And then they said, how do you know the CEO? And I said, oh, I don't. And then that like seemed to be even better. But tactics like that will be less, like are less awesome than just building your network and letting people know what you're really great at and showing up as you. Because you have to show up anyhow. Anyhow, these are our cliches. So in job search, one big one I would say is this inconsistency. So that's somebody who like is totally quiet on LinkedIn and then they pop in and they're like, just so you know, like quit my job and now I'm this. And you're like, cool, and then nothing. Just like nothing. And they didn't help to change the conversation for their followers. So their followers knew them as something and they never talked about being this new thing. And now you're talking like, I'm this, and then you leave. So if you want to be known as the new something, then it's about showing up consistently. And it might not be post every day or even post every week, but go like, what are 3 things I could share that lets people who know me know what I'm thinking about right now, and bringing them along for the journey. Yeah, I guess it goes with the other one, which is just like coming out of nowhere, right? Like that, yeah, you're just like, you weren't there. Another one is don't use words like guru or ninja. The new sincerity doesn't like it. Those words, even synergy, like it just, and I'm sorry if you're using them, but they recruiters keep saying, like, they rub people the wrong way, right? It looks, you know, and if you love them, you like check yourself and you can challenge me after, but you look really corny. And unless you are a guru or you are a ninja, then it's bad. Like if you are, then sorry, right? But you're making those guys look bad. Because it's not original anymore, right? Yeah.
I feel the same way about the word expert. When
Oh,
people say
oh.
expert,
Yeah.
I feel like, who made you the expert?
Yeah.
So what about that word?
It depends. I think it's who's saying it. So I work a lot, I was teaching a class to web designers or web developers, and someone was like, I'm an expert, like in Photoshop, and I was like, you've been using it 2 years. Like, my husband's a graphic designer, he's been using it for 15, and he doesn't call himself an expert. But if you designed Photoshop, then I think you could say expert. But yeah, I think it's where. But yeah, if you know those words that rub you wrong, then I wouldn't use them. Yeah. But expert doesn't rub me wrong, but these ones do.
So, but how do you decide if you're an expert or not?
How do you decide if you're an expert?
Like for instance, if someone just proclaims like I'm an expert in this just because you have a certain do you know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
Can you just put it out there? Be like, okay, I'm an influencer.
Anyone
I'm an
can call
expert.
themselves anything that they want.
Okay.
It's if everyone else is also saying that they're that thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if no one else thinks you're an expert. Like I think people have called me an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a resume expert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, probably. But
LinkedIn has called you a career expert.
LinkedIn called me a career?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, LinkedIn. There you go. But I would feel like a cornball calling myself that. Yeah? Did you have a question?
It's not really a question, it's just, I've had a boss say, oh, we just hired this, programming rock star. And it's like,
Oh,
where?
yeah.
Rock star.
Yeah, rock star, all right,
I'm just
yeah.
like, what? Nobody told me this, I've been doing this for like a few months.
For a few months, yeah. So I think you can use different words. You can use the words that you actually are really good at. Those things that you're really good at, or the title that you want to have, those are the words that you can use. And then if you really feel like you are a guru or a ninja or a rock star or an expert, then you're going to prove that through your content and through your engagement. You don't have to say it, you can prove it. And your actions and showing up will have other people saying it about you before you ever have to call yourself it. The other one is these job search ones where people are focused on, where you're focused it all on you and you're not focusing it on your audience. And that happens where people are just like a long post about, I decided to leave my job, and they make a long post and then they share something else that they learned and something, but they don't engage with other people. So you were saying that you connected with lots of people through LinkedIn because of engagement, like other posts they're making. So if you want a LinkedIn strategy, the winning strategy is you create content, you share like your own content, whether it's just a little post, you share other things that are in your industry that you're interested in, and then you spend that much, like a tiny bit of time doing that, and then you spend 75% of the time talking to other people. On other, like commenting on their posts, making comment, because the more you comment on other people's stuff, people will see your comment and then they'll go and check you out, right? That you don't get it just by creating great content. It's the combo of having content with engagement that wins. And then the last kind of cliche for job seekers would be sharing too much, which is kind of sharing too much personal. And it's funny because if you go on LinkedIn, I made a video yesterday where I jumped on my hotel bed and then the camera flipped. And then I talked a story about crying. And you go, well, Kerri, you do it. But yeah, part of my brand is oversharing. And I'm not looking for to assert myself like even as an expert or to a certain, well, kind of an expert. I won't use the word though, expertise.
No, you can use it, but I'm just saying I find it sometimes, so I
Yeah.
use it for myself.
You won't use it for yourself. Yeah, so I will use, and part of also my brand words, so like when you talked about the things you do, one of mine is to delight, right? So I make a choice that a lot of my content is just there to be delightful. Another one, and I don't have it on this because I have a longer post on LinkedIn, is there's a trend, and somebody in the room talked about doing it, but there's this trend where if you feel lost about what to do in your career, you'll send a message, and you can send it, I would say it's better to send this message privately and be really aware of where you're gonna send this message, but people will be like, I don't know what my personal brand is or what's good about me, and you'll read in books, and career experts will say, oh yeah, just reach out to your network and be like, what are 3 things you think about when you think of me? And then you'll know what your brand is. And some people do that live, and what happens then, and I think the person who talked about it said, yeah, it felt like people had seen other words, so they were trying to add fresh words to appear, but it also positions you as someone who doesn't know what you're doing. And vulnerability is cool, but if you're trying to be the leader of something, if you ask questions like, I don't know what I'm good at or who I am or how people see me, it can make you look kind of less credible, right? So there are things that you can show vulnerability about, but I wouldn't use your personal brand or finding out what you're good at in such a public place. You also don't want to use that for your other recruiters or other people like where you might want to manage their company. Because if you're asking them that question, then it changes the